Hi. During this session, Alexei and myself would like to discuss with you a research study that we carried out last year, and it was named Mental Health Perceptions from Artwork. This was an artistic study carried out by Dr. Alexei, Sammut, myself, Paulann, Grech, Michael Gallia, Dr. Margaret Manjon, and Professor Josiane Sherry. So this session will be following a discussion format during which Alexei and I will be discussing the whole process so as to give you an idea of what we did. Hi, Alexei.
Hi.
So can you tell us, please, a little bit about how this study originated, what and who came up with the original concept?
Yes, indeed. So basically, the idea stemmed from love of artwork and love of mental health, obviously. So we wanted to create a set of paintings, 18 in total, which we wanted to showcase in order to elicit awareness about mental health. Unfortunately, mental health literacy is always a struggle. So we wanted to use a different media to try and convey the message, because in stigma campaigns and in health awareness campaigns related to mental health, most often it's a lot of information, a lot of textual information, and we wanted to come up with a visual aspect to try and promote mental health. So that was where the original idea stemmed from.
And Alexei, then you obviously had a good discussion with the artist himself. Can you tell us a bit about this collaborative process, please?
Yes, indeed. So first of all, it was a challenge to try and identify an artist who could obviously translate thoughts and ideas into actual artwork. Luckily, Mr. Anthony Calleja, who is a local Maltese artist, who is also a very prolific artist, has in the past carried out work which hinted to some form of mental health and mental illness. So I approached Mr. Calleja. He was very into the idea and the project, and that is where obviously these long discussions and meetings in order to come up with the artwork that we will present very soon. It's very important that I did not influence the artist in the creation of the artwork. We had discussions and the artist had all his artistic freedom. So there was no input from our end in terms of what to draw, but we discussed and we explored mental health conditions and the lived experiences of individuals with mental health conditions. And he assimilated that and then he translated that through the artwork.
In fact, he had participated in previous artwork related to mental illness in the past.
Yes, he was once, apart from obviously his long list of Maltese and international exhibitions, he was also a guest artist in one of the Horatio events, which was carried out in Malta, which actually portrayed, and that is what initially sparked the concept. So that was quite a long time ago, but we kept our friendship, we kept our connections, and when it was time to actually explore this in more detail, he was very happy to participate and join in the research project.
Okay, so I'm thinking, what were the actual aims of this study? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. So the aims of the study were primarily to present a collection of artwork and ask the participants who were willing to take part in this research to give a title to the artwork that they came obviously to the exhibition, and also to interpret and describe the emotions and feelings that such artwork was conveying to them. So basically, although the artwork have each piece of art has an intended message, which is then obviously explained, after the experiments, or sort of. Okay. First, we wanted to see what the artwork elicited in the participants, and to do that, we actually did a cross-sectional survey design, where we asked the participants, which in total were 29, who were willing to participate in this study, who actually filled questionnaire for each of the artworks, which we're going to see and very soon, explaining what the artwork is conveying to them, basically.
That's great, Alexei. I'm thinking at this point, I'm really curious to have a look at the collection. And I guess so our audience. Can you please walk us through the whole collection?
Most definitely, and it's something which is very important, because then our audience will understand the analysis that came out. Okay, so this is what the artistic message from the artist and ourselves is, not actually what the participants might have answered. Okay, so artwork number 1 is basically reflecting thoughts and the thinking process. I will have to speed a bit up this section. Okay, artwork number 2 depicts social isolation and loneliness. Artwork number 3 refers to the stereotyping that normally surrounds mental illness. Artwork number 4 relates to the technology and mental well-being, today's changing society, and the technological barriers and the technological restraints that today is very important in one's life. Artwork number 5 depicts obsessions and addictions, whilst artwork number 6 depicts the financial struggles and financial stabilities that can relate to the mental health well-being or lack of well-being because of financial struggles. Artwork number 7 depicts eating disorders. Okay, I have to explain slightly that is a cooking pan on top of the artist's head. And again, most of the time when the artist provides a portrait, it's normally a self-portrait as well. Artwork number 8 depicts the relationships and the struggles within substance misuse and relationships. Artwork number 9 depicts bullying. Number 10 depicts the vulnerability of individuals with mental health conditions. Artwork number 11 depicts schizophrenia, whilst artwork number 12 depicts the struggles with suicidal ideations, and following with the fighting of the suicidal ideations and the concept of death. That leaves us to artwork number 14, which is actually the death by suicide. Then we go into artwork number 15, which depicts the professional support of mental health professionals and people related to the professional support of individuals who require care. That moves to the artwork number 16, which is basically the recovery and rehabilitation aspect within mental health care. And the last but not least piece of artwork, which is actually untitled, we decided to leave it for interpretation, for the person to basically define if it's something positive or something negative to sum up the collection. So again, this is something which will lead us to the second part of this presentation, which is basically the data analysis. And here we're switching a bit roles, because Dr. Grech was the person who actually led also the data analysis. So I'm sure that people who are watching this are eager to know how the data was actually analyzed.
Yes, in fact, throughout the process, we kept in mind 2 main research questions. And basically, the first one was, what is the perceived message of each painting as interpreted by the participants? And the second main question was, which emotions are experienced by the participants upon viewing each painting. And what we did was we applied a process of thematic analysis to the replies that had been given by our participants. And then we also use the process of comparative analysis, whereby the participants' descriptions related to each of the paintings were compared in order to explore, first of all, similarities and differences in interpretation and emotion perceptions between the participants themselves, so differences between participants and similarities. And the second one was the congruence and discrepancy between the participants' perceptions and the author's intentions. The author meaning the person who actually painted the collection. And the author's intentions could be accessed through a publication that accompanied the collection. So during this analysis process, 3 themes emerged, and these 3 themes were namely those of darkness, solitude, and recovery. And then each of these themes had a number of sub-themes. Going through each briefly over each of these 3 themes, first of all, there was the theme of darkness. And the number of paintings contributed to each theme. In fact, this was the dominant theme that emerged from the findings of these studies. And it was a theme that could be found in many of the paintings that were described by the participants. In fact, 10 of the 17 paintings were identified as contributing to this theme of darkness. Darkness refers to reported participant interpretations that touched upon a range of emotions related to mental health challenges, such as anguish, burden, and struggles that frequently characterize mental illness. For instance, one participant wrote that what struck me the most was the darkness and hollowness in the person's eyes, when referring to painting 2. It's almost as if the person is completely empty and hurt, but at the same time, I got the sense that the person is also very angry. The sub-themes within this theme were those of entrapment, fatigue, pain, and fear. Moving on to the second theme, that of solitudes. This theme represents those participant interpretations related to the feeling of stillness that emerged from some of the paintings. Stillness was mostly described in negative rather than positive terms, and it could be a part of the journey of mental illness and recovery. For instance, in relation to the first painting, one of the participants wrote, "The painting immediately evokes feelings of fear, passivity, and above all, despair and loneliness. It somehow reaches out to you and makes you want to explain to the individual in the painting that he is not alone." 7 paintings contributed to this theme, and there were also 2 sub-themes within the theme of solitude. These 2 sub-themes were loneliness and lost in thoughts. Moving on to the third theme, this was the theme of recovery, and it can be seen as the light at the end of the tunnel. It can be seen as a ray of hope, constituting of the sub-themes freedom and support. The participant interpretations show the move towards recovery. A sense of freedom was interpreted by the viewers, by our participants, and this was parallel to the heartening indication of support being available to those living and recovering with and from a mental illness. For example, one participant, when viewing patient 17, wrote a sense of unity and being, belonging to a community, a system of support, feeling of hope and willingness. So these were, in a nutshell, the 3 themes that emerged from the analysis of the paintings, from the analysis of the participant replies.
Thank you, Paulann. Just one final take-home message, if you can, please, because we're really also running a bit out of time. So, in summary, one take-home message:
Yes, I think that this process, this whole project, the process and the study have shown us that art is very important in mental health. Our final recommendation is to teach healthcarers about the fundamentals of art appreciation, interpretation, and application, especially when it comes to hues and tones that can instill certain types of emotions in any particular environment, including caring environments. And using art-based interventions, because we found out that when we used art as a medium to try to interact with the audience regarding mental health perceptions, a lot of in-depth interpretations and reflections came out of the process, and it is felt, therefore, that art can be used as a medium both in interventions and also in raising awareness about mental health in the community, in the larger community.
Thank you very much, Dr. Grech.
Thank you, Alexei. So I think we can conclude with this point. Thank you.